Welcome to my channel. Please like, comment, and subscribe. In this video, we are going to talk about your complete guide to the Jones Act. In the United States, transportation of goods between two parts of the U.S. is regulated by federal law. Provisions of the Maritime Act of 1920, known as the Jones Act, codified seamen's rights and also required the development of a domestic maritime industry for shipping of the goods between U.S. ports. As a result, the Jones Act has become one of the most important acts in U.S. maritime law. If you are a sailor on a vessel engaged in shipping or trade between parts of the U.S., the Jones Act is one of the most important laws that protect your rights in the event you are hurt on the job. When you have been injured in the course of your duties as a sailor, you should talk to a maritime accident attorney about the possibility of pursuing financial compensation through a Jones Act claim. And the next discussion is about what is Jones Act. Jones Act is a popular name of Section 27 of the Maritime Act of 1920, named for the chief sponsor of the Act, Senator Wesley Jones of Washington. The Jones Act regulates coastwise shipping or shipping between the two U.S. ports. Specifically, the Jones Act restricts the kinds of vessels that may engage in coastwise shipping and also establishes the rights of seamen engaged in coastwise trade. Although it has been amended multiple times in its century plus of existence, the basic provisions of the Jones Act remain relatively intact. Other statutes that are sometimes mistakenly referred to as the Jones Act include the Passengers Vessel Services Act of 1886, which regulates the transportation of passengers between ports or places in the U.S., and the Longshore and Harbor Workers' Compensation Act, which provides workers' compensation coverage to certain maritime workers. And then the next is about history of the Jones Act. The Jones Act and the rest of the Maritime Act of 1920 were enacted in the wake of World War I for the purpose of growing the domestic maritime industry. The preamble to the Maritime Act of 1920 notes that one of the aims of the act was to have merchantmen capable of carrying the nation's domestic maritime trade that could also serve as a naval auxiliary in time of war or national emergency. And the previous statutes adopted by Congress were intended to have similar effects. These laws, found in many other coastal countries, are called sabotage laws. For example, in the first Congress, an act was passed that limited domestic trade to U.S. ships that met certain requirements. These statutes provided certain tax breaks and other financial advantage to U.S.-built and crewed vessels when shipping goods between U.S. ports. Yearly, U.S. sabotage laws find their roots in English laws that sought to restrict maritime trade between ports in England and later in the UK. Contemporary and modern opponents of the Jones Act contend that statute was meant as a protectionist law to benefit Senator Jones' constituents in Washington. Because Washington state had a significant shipping industry, the Jones Act effectively gave the state a monopoly on the trade between the contiguous United States and the territory of Alaska, rather than allowing Canadian shippers to handle trade between the Pacific Northwest and Alaska. Opponents argue that the Jones Act also had the secondary effect of increasing shipping costs for other states and U.S. territories, particularly Puerto Rico. When does the Jones Act apply? The Jones Act applies whenever cargo is moved on vessels between 2 points in U.S. cargo is deemed moved it as loaded at a point within the U.S. and then overflowed at another point within the U.S. Regardless of the origin or ultimate destination of such cargo, the Jones Act also prohibits transporting between two U.S. points via foreign points, since no coast-wise qualified vessel will not conduct any part of the transportation of goods between two U.S. points. U.S. points include all U.S. states and territories except for American Samoa and the Northern Mariana Islands, as well as the U.S. Virgin Islands, unless the President declares that the Jones Act will apply to the USVI. Points also included the internal waters and territorial waters of the U.S. and the outer continental shelves of the U.S. The Jones Act uses the term foreign rather than ports to ensure that it applies regardless of whether cargo is loaded or offloaded in a formal port facility. Under limited circumstances, ineligible vessels under the Jones Act may engage in trade to the U.S. territories of Guam, American Samoa, Wake Island, Midway Island, and Kingman Reef. Cargo is not considered to be in coast-wise transportation if it is taken to an intermediate point outside the U.S., manufactured or processed into a different products, and then transported to another point in the U.S. In addition, coast-wide trade ineligible vessels may travel between 2 points within the U.S. carrying certain exempted articles such as empty cargo vans, olive vans, and shipping tanks and stevedoring equipment, provided that such articles are owned and leased by the cargo or stevedoring company and used by them in handling cargo for foreign trade. In addition, non-coast-wise vessels may avoid violating the Jones Act if they depart the U.S. with cargo intending to offload it at a foreign port but are denied entry at a port and return to a point in the U.S. However, non-qualified vessels can seek a waiver of the applicable of the Jones Act. Waiver requests are considered on a case-by-case basis by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and are usually only granted in the interest of national defense or national security. In practice, waivers are usually granted in response to natural disasters, such as hurricanes, to ensure the continued trade of goods to and from affected areas. Congress also has the authority to grant a waiver by legislative action, such as the waiver granted for America's Cup competition to allow foreign competing vessels and support craft to operate in the U.S. Some small passenger vessels can also obtain a Jones Act waiver after a notice and comment period. These waivers are only available for passenger vessels that are at least 3 years old, were built or rebuilt outside the U.S. and carry no more than 12 passengers for hire. Other statutory exceptions to the Jones Act include transportation of hazardous waste, transportation of merchandise between parties on or leased by the same party if such treatment is extended to U.S. vessels by the transferring vessels' countries of registry, transportation of goods partially transported over Canadian rail lines over Great Lakes railroads, transportation of goods on the Yukon River until the Alaska Railroad is completed and becomes available for transportation, transportation of goods by Canadian vessels between certain points in Alaska, and then seamen's right under the Jones Act. In addition to governing coast-wise trade, the Jones Act also expressly protects the right of a seaman serving a U.S. vessel engaged in coast-wise trade. Especially, an injured U.S. seaman can file a legal claim against the employer for injuries they suffered due to the negligence of the vessel's owner. The vessel's master or captain or even fellow crew members described mirror those previously afforded to railroad workers. In addition, seamen may pursue claims under the Jones Act for injuries that they suffered due to the unseaworthiness of the vessels. A vessel is not considered unseaworthy simply because it is sinking. Instead, a vessel may also deemed unseaworthy when it has unsafe condition that puts seamen at risk for injury, including broken, poorly maintained, or malfunctioning equipment, leaking leak grease and oil in workplace, failure to provide crew with the proper working equipment or proper safety equipment, inadequate training of crew, insufficient warning or instruction sign, unsafe work method or operation of the vessel, such as captain sailing into the adverse weather or sea condition that could have been avoided, failure to put a dangerous or fallen crew members of the ship. I think that's all, guys, information that I can share to you. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give like, comment, and subscribe. Bye. See you in another video, guys.